Hello. In this class, we are going to discuss Porter's five forces model. We are going to use it to analyze a company's industry. So, whatever company you are analyzing under the bottom up approach, so you first analyze the company, non-financial, financial, then you go to the industry. So, this is a way of analyzing how the industry works. What are the competitive advantage that the industry has? So Porter's five forces model has five components. So competitive rivalry, that is the internal competition within the industry, suppliers bargaining power, customers bargaining power, threat of substitution, and threat of new entrant. Okay, so this is the value chain. So you have customers that pay for the product, then you take a cut of it and you transfer it to the suppliers. So in this value chain, if customers have lot of bargaining power, they pay very less. So you get very less, your suppliers get very less. If suppliers have lot of bargaining power, then whatever customer pays mostly goes to the supplier. You take only a part of it. So for us as an industry, you need to have lesser customer bargaining power and lesser supplier bargaining power. So that is important. Then if it is very easy to enter into an industry, then you cannot maintain your monopoly, you cannot maintain your profits, because your market share that you have, that is so precious to you, can be stolen away by a new entrant. So easier it is to enter into an industry, not so good for an investor into that industry. Threat of substitution, if it is easily substitute, means if the product can be easily substituted, then not good for the industry. If you cannot do away with the product, if the cost of substitution is so high that customers cannot switch, then you have a sheer monopoly and you can rank in profit, so it is good for an investor. So let's see what all are involved in. So if customers bargaining power, you need to focus on number of customers. More number of customers you have, lesser is their bargaining power. If you are dependent only on few customers, then it creates a problem. Size of each order, if few customers are ordering 90% of your total sales, then it becomes a problem. So you need, the size of order becomes important, because higher is the size, more is the customer's bargaining power. Then difference between competitors, are you really differentiating vis-a-vis your brands? So do customers have that brand focus? That is also important. Or are they focused only on price? We want customers to be brand focused rather than focused on price, because competing on prices is not good for our profit margins. Ability to substitute, is it easy for customers to substitute, to find your substitute, and what is the cost of changing? So all these factors determines buyers bargaining power. Then you have suppliers bargaining power. So you have number of suppliers. If you have options, it is good for you, you are not dependent on one supplier, so the suppliers bargaining power becomes less. Size of suppliers, if size of suppliers is huge, for example in aircraft industry or in air carriers industry, airlines industry, Boeing and Airbus are huge companies. So airlines don't have much options, so they either have to go to Boeing or for Airbus or few other companies, but 90% of share is 90% of market share belongs to Boeing and Airbus. So when the size of suppliers is so huge, they have very high bargaining powers. Then uniqueness of service, so if the service is very unique, you cannot do away with it, so supplier will have significant bargaining power. Your ability to substitute and cost of changing, so if you can substitute very easily as an industry, then you have advantage. If the cost of changing is very less, so there are no contracts that you are into, so then it becomes easier. Next is threat of new entrants. So time and cost of entry, so is it easy to enter, is it difficult to enter, how costlier it is to enter? Example, cigarette manufacturing. So if we start a cigarette company, most of the countries do not allow us to advertise in any free medium. So you cannot advertise on TV, internet, face, means even in billboards or any traditional medium. So then how would you propagate your product? So the cost of entry is very high in those aspects. Economies of scale. So are the existing players achieved economies of scale so that they have certain advantages, cost advantages, technology protection, patent advantages, barriers to entry like patents, copyrights, intellectual property rights? All these are important when you analyze a company. For example, pharma companies, if it is a generic drug, then the margins of pharma companies are very low in that product. But if they have patented it, it is not a generic drug and only one pharma company can produce that drug, then the margins are really high in those products. Then is threat of substitution, how easy it is to substitute, what is the cost of change. So we have talked a lot about it. And how is the internal rivalry, how is the competition structure within the industry? So how many competitors are there, is there any quality difference between each competitors? Are they creating brands? So is it brand based competition or is it price based competition? What is the customer loyalty? So that is also important. Is there any niche following, is there any fringe following, or so on and so forth? So is there any cult following? So lot of movies, if you see, Marvel has a cult following. So if you're analyzing film industry and you are looking at Marvel, right? So Marvel has a cult following, DC has a cult following. So even though the movie is a crap movie, still the fan base that is there for Marvel or DC are going to see that movie. So that gives a certain kind of protection to the industry. So all these things you have to analyze, and this is how you do internal industry analysis. And apart from that, industry is also impacted by social changes, by political changes, by economic changes, as well as by technology changes. So apart from this model, there is an external factors called as PEST: politics, economic, social, and technology. So all these four factors also leads to certain advantages or disadvantages to industries in particular times. So you have to analyze these four factors. The political changes that are happening, example, if you are an garlic manufacturer based in China and there are import duties that are put on to you, anti-dumping duties that are put on to you in the United States, then damages your market. So that is a political risk, that is an economic risk. Then social changes, for example, we have a lot of boomers population retiring, so there is a significant change happening in Canada's demography. So how would those change impact your product and services in your industry? So all these things you have to analyze. And most important part is technology. You can be a market leader, your industry can be doing well, but some disruptive technology comes in and it damages everything. Example, let's say Polaroid or Kodak, right? The means the film and shoot industry before digital cam, the entire industry was damaged, and the industry was evolved, that was changed by digital cameras. So all these changes are important and you have to factor in those changes. So thank you for your time. This video was about industry analysis. So five factors in Porter you have to focus and four external factors you have to focus. PEST.